Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another episode of It Takes Two, where we look into the challenges that naturally occur in marriage and try to help viewers find more meaningful and solution-focused ways of living happily in their marriages. I have, as always, my co-host, Sister Ruby Soa. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And to my right, I have Sayyid Fadil Bahlul Aloom. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Pleasure for us to have you here today.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to this show. I'd like to just make best use of time, jump straight into the first letter. And it's quite a long one and quite a deep one, so I'll see what you both think about this after we can discuss it. It reads, Dear It Takes Two. I married my husband just after university. It was a love marriage, and we had the same visions and goals in almost everything. Alhamdulillah, we have a good life. However, everything on paper is good. We take nice holidays, have a nice home, beautiful children. However, I feel religion is ruining our marriage. Since my husband has hit 40, he no longer wants to go to work. He wants to stay at home in zikr and pray, waiting for the death. Everything is changing fast. Even the paintings that we had on the wall have been removed and replaced with Islamic art. They were just paintings with no images on them. Even going to see the children in a school play initiates an argument. My daughter goes to a Catholic school, which we both decided because it was one of the best schools in the area, not because they follow a particular doctrine, but because of its standards and locality. Now he wants to pull her out of the school. Of course, the boys are now treated differently, and even discussing our daughter's future, he wants to marry her off to someone from his parents' country. I don't recognize this man, and it's causing huge problems. You don't know what you are going to walk into when you get home. Once a friendly, loving home has now become a prison. This unfortunate letter is from a anonymous viewer in the UK. Sister Ruby, there's so much in there, but what are the first things that come to mind when you hear the facts of this letter?
I feel really sad for the sister. I feel that this is unfortunately a common thing in the community, and it's unfortunate. I don't know what has happened to the brother. She hasn't said. Sometimes when a circumstance, a situation happens in life, for example, if you witness an accident, it can prompt you to become more religious, or you get some bad news, or you see something, it changes something in you and makes you behave in a way that you weren't before. What I think is, and this is what happens a lot, I think with sisters as well, that they interpret religion as almost stopping life. Don't live, just read, pray, do zikr, whatever else. And they forget about what is important also, which is their families and their responsibilities to their wife, their children, their community, etc. What I'm feeling from the sister is that she sounds desperate. She sounds like she's at her wit's end, and
Sounds hard.
It sounds very hard, and it's affecting the children. So I'm possibly going to ask the Sayyid what his thoughts are, because I don't know if this is something common. I think it is, but you would have more experience.
So it sounds like religion has become so narrow, because she uses the euphemism. It's like living in a prison. So this husband changing and becoming so strict, puritanical, narrow. What's your thoughts?
The problem is a typical problem. We've been hearing these problems since a long time ago. I do remember first case was when I was a child. It was one of my mother's friends. They both were not that religious, and then she became very religious, and then he divorced her, and so on and so forth. And it's happened either at some stage the husband become so religious, or one of the either husband or the wife, and at some stages both parents become so religious, and then the children notice the change, and the children or one of the children say not religious, and all of it end up with series of problems. The answer is can't really have black and white in these cases, and it's a long term. There is a long term solution. But we just, I think in the program we can talk about bits and pieces, and then hopefully in the future we can, or if she can, try to put the bits and pieces together. There is, the solution needs a lot of patience from her, and after persuading the husband from him. Marriage is like a company, it's like a project. Both husband and wife should work hard to keep it as successful as possible for the sake of the children and themselves and the family in general. This is a very important concept which both husband and wife should understand, and most of us should understand. Because if marriage become like piece of cake or happiness or honeymoon, doesn't exist. Let's be frank with ourselves. Marriage mean sacrifice, mean struggle, mean work together, mean happiness, mean sadness.
So sometimes down, sometimes up and sometimes down.
So she should stay as patient as she can, try to get things changed. He himself, he needs someone to talk to him. I don't think she will be the only person. They need an external advice at some stages, although keeping privacy is the most important thing. So he should understand that religious is not like living in a prison, and he should become easier, because from what I understand from the letter, that it seems like they weren't that religious, and he became so religious at some very strict, if I'm not mistaken, by her saying that he removed the pictures and the things. So he also need to understand that there were things they agreed about before, and you can't have an abrupt change all of a sudden. Everything should get changed, and they need to reach a solution rather than giving up. And if any of the partners feel that the house become a prison, they need to work hard to change it into a happy house rather than giving up and run away from it.
I think what the sister is possibly also feeling is very alone in the marriage, because what I'm assuming from the letter is he's busy spiritually, focusing on what he needs to do, but he's neglecting everything else. So that's what I'm concerned about. I'm also concerned about, as the Sayyid has also mentioned, she mentioned art, that it didn't have any images on there.
Yeah, no images, he said anyway, but he's changed it for like calligraphy.
Exactly. And this is a problem when, as the Sayyid said, when you don't progress together on time, that it causes problems because one side cannot catch up or doesn't want to. And the poor children, she mentioned, they go to a Catholic school not because it's Catholic, but it's the best one in the area, and now he wants to pull them out. So think of how confused the children must be suddenly. What's happened to our parents?
He reached 40 and it's almost like an abrupt change. He's waiting for the death. He just wants to do zikr. He didn't say he doesn't work anymore, but
doesn't want to go to
he doesn't
work.
want to go to work. He's absorbed. Is that actually correct? Even his methodology. She's describing him as being religious, but we're all aspiring to become more Islamic. But is even his methodology is that questionable? Almost like.
I mean, it sounds like he's being depressed, or these are symptoms of depression. Although I'm not a psychologist myself, but for a man not willing to go to and waiting for death. Religion hasn't asked us to wait for death. Religion always encourages us to live our life and getting prepared for death, because life and death, they both are ni'mah from Allah, and both of them requires work and things from us. So I think we need a diagnosis of what happened, whether, as you just mentioned, it was a shock, a reaction. There is something there. Although we are maybe asking for some kind of impossible scenario, she needs to be so patient. So if she can get help from someone to enable her to be able to do more and more. And
Would it be best? Sorry to cut you, but would it be best if that person is like a religious scholar, so that because he seems he would take more advice from somebody
yes,
senior
I
in
think
religion?
they need help by a scholar, a therapist, a family therapist, older member of the family, someone like that. And they both need to work. He needs to work, but unless there is a good diagnosis of his case, because if he had a I wouldn't call it depression, but whatever, then he wouldn't listen. I think
Yes,
you know
I
better.
understand.
That he will become like, stubborn, the
Yes.
person with these kind of symptoms. So they need to correct this problem. They need to resolve or to deal with the problem itself in order to enable him that, first of all, he needs to confess that he's doing something, he hasn't something. This is, I'm sure you know better, and she would be able to, if she seek the right help, to know more. That doesn't mean that she leave him alone. And something very important sister mentioned, they are not alone in this scenario. So many partners are. So we've got like people when one of the partners convert to Islam or from one school of thought to another, or when, for instance, sometimes the gentleman get a job, and now we're having so much of those problems when he gets a job abroad. She's not willing to be with him, or vice versa. These kind of things should both be agreed and accepted by both partners, the husband and wife, and they need to, both of them, to be willing to get a solution.
I would also say before they got married, because she said I think they met in university or got married in university, I don't know. But when you're, before you get married, you should have these discussions of,
She spoke about shared vision. She mentioned
what happens in life where the communication has broken down for whatever reason. And I think she sounds really angry. She's probably very frustrated because she doesn't recognize who this person is.
He's a stranger. He's changed her environment. She also mentions, in a sense, what sounds like he's emotionally withdrawn. It doesn't, as much as she's saying he's become religious, he doesn't say he sounds loving. I get a sense of coldness, a sense of distance, almost like his religiosity has been manifested in strict adherence to rules and regulations, but the spirit of Islam doesn't seem...
I think that's what happens a lot, and the Sayyid can elaborate. A lot of the time people think for some reason the more religious you have to be, the more alone you have to be, the more you have to not engage with people. I don't know where this comes from. Where does it say that you have to behave this way, that you have to be alone and struggling? And but a lot of people interpret it that way for some reason. I don't know why.
Say, does a brother maybe also need some advice in that regard? Because I was thinking about the saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him, where it says the best of you is those who are best to their wives, and I'm best to my wife. So he's been, in a way, he's not being good to his wife. So he's following rules and regulations in one sense, but he doesn't sound very kind to his wife.
You're right. The best sadaqah is to give charity to the wife and the children. We have so many riwayat and hadith, and to be nice with them and to talk with them nicely. But I think the gentleman needs help. This is first. Second, we are talking from an angle, and things shouldn't be, I mean, if the lady is listening, we also, or whoever trying to help, should listen to the husband, because there might be some kind of misunderstanding. The best thing I can tell, that she's not the only one. Because once you feel that you are part of a group of people who suffer from a problem, then that give you probably more courage and momentum to...
She's not alone.
She's not alone in this. And this is what marriage is for, and living together. It's a sacrifice, especially when they have children, especially if they live abroad. If they are here, life has got so many problems. Both husband and wife should work to bring wherever. So these things directly affecting them. But religiously, there isn't such a thing that we should wait for death and we should stay at home. لا رهبانية في الإسلام. I mean, always Islam encourages us to work, to do this, and work is the best ibadah, the best worship, especially for the father. Earning money is like the best jihad, the best kind of amal salih, the best sadaqah, when he gives money to the wife, to the atfal, to the children. I think there is a big misunderstanding happening. which should be resolved. But I think if everything as she's been explaining, he might need some kind of help.
I would agree. I would say there's definitely something that's made him do a 360 and
360.
completely change who and what he is.
Yeah, like a midlife. Well, it's 40. Like sounds like a midlife crisis almost.
I was going to say so. Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, because 40 and leaving work or not willing to do is something serious happening. Because usually people run away from home and probably try to go to work. If he's escaping from work, it sounds that there's something wrong happening. There's a big thing.
Also, she mentioned something about they have a daughter and that he would like the daughter to marry someone from his parents' country.
Yeah.
So that tells me maybe they're both from different cultures.
Boys and the girls are being treated differently. I don't know to infer if.
Maybe it's a cultural thing, or he's interpreting Islam in a certain way, but maybe cultural problem.
You're right. This is something which you notice, and this is something he is the person to be blamed, because once someone marry someone not from his culture, he should be well prepared to always to listen and to
accommodate.
Exactly.
So not be open.
Exactly, ahsanto. If he's that, I wouldn't like to say narrow-minded and like to stay to his culture, he shouldn't have married someone from different community, because that means he's opening a kind of endless debate. So yeah, I think this is one of the things. And being from different cultures, that probably needs extra help and extra work. It's not straightforward. I think it's a bit complicated, but easy to be dealt with. And it's possible that someone can help them.
So what would we say in summary? It would be the sister's first, maybe like a bullet point of the few things that she can do to maybe start solving the problem. Where would she start?
I think they need an advice from a religious person, or highly respected within the family, whether a lady in the family or whatever. They need a medical also advice, because I'm having a strong doubt that he had some kind of beginning of kind of depression.
So maybe an assessment from a GP or something.
Because unless this is dealt with, he won't listen to her. And if he doesn't listen, that means they won't be able to communicate, and this is the biggest problem.
Because he's just turned inwards and he could become very angry.
Yeah. And
but it's a
work
shame.
And doesn't want to go on to work. This is very serious. Something serious happening. Staying at home, waiting for death.
Yeah,
it's clearly depression.
It sounds very sad. Inshallah, Allah give them success in going forward.
And I can guarantee them that they will go back together and live happily. It happened. More serious problems than that has been resolved.
Inshallah.
Once the husband and wife has got children, they can do a lot for the sake of the and Allah will help. Always Allah helps those who are willing to help. So they need to help themselves to work together in order to get the problem resolved.
I agree, inshallah.
Just a quick question, Said. It is related to the letter, but it's almost like a slightly digressing. Is it a common misunderstanding regarding marriage? Like I just noticed that he spoke about she emphasized he wants our daughter to marry somebody from his parents' background, but he doesn't have the sort of same stipulation for his sons. Is this a correct type of thing?
Yeah, he shouldn't. Same treatment to the daughter and to the son. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always, when he talks, Zani was Zani. To tell lies is the same punishment, whether you are a man or a woman. To do any kind of sin is the same. So he should deal and treat them the same, especially if he lives in a Western country. He needs to respect and understand the Western culture. By saying that we can't deny that it makes slight difference sometimes to the father's mentality. Let's be frank. And this is the Middle Eastern or Asian mentality, that because they all the children the name belong to the father, so they are willing to keep the name same to the community they came from. If the daughter is getting married to a German, the grandchildren will be German. But if the son is married to a German girl, the grandsons stay Arabs or whatever,
Yes.
which doesn't make sense as such, but there is such a thing. We can't deny the fact that there isn't there is such a mentality. We need to know how to deal with it. But he has no right to think that way, because which sounds like if he got married to someone from a different community or race or country, then he should expect and agree that this is going to happen, unless if he has told her at the beginning that we do that, but I'm not going to allow my daughter to do that, and I highly doubted that she agreed. And at the end of the day, it's her decision.
So open. It sounds like he was so open at the beginning.
Yeah,
and, he's changed.
and at the end of the day, it's the children's decision. Although, and by saying that, that doesn't mean the child is Islamically, especially the daughter, first marriage, they should consult and they should get the permission of the father. But if the father disagrees and he has no good reason, they have the right to do something against his wish. So everything has got is a negative and positive, and it's a very wide debatable issue. There is something wrong going on. There is a big lack of communication between them. And the problem, once there is a problem, each side he can't see things the way it should be seen. But one thing I would like to mention, and probably that may encourage either of them, once people getting married, they need to know that the life and the thing is not only belong to them, it's the children. So she needs to understand that whatever hard work and suffering, anything she's doing is for the sake of the children. That will give her some peace of mind, because when you do something and you feel that you are doing it for the sake of your child, everyone saving money and trying to minimize the mortgage for the sake of children. The best thing for the children is to grow up in a mother and a father house.
Zayed, is it fair if she feels oppressed, because it sounds oppressive? She said prison, so prison to me is oppression. So she's being oppressed. Doesn't Allah forbid oppression? Because the man doesn't want to work, he wants to die. And
if he stays at home, he will make her life hell. Exactly. I can tell you that, because when the man stays at home, they always mourn together. So it is. But from our side, we need to minimize the possibilities of talaq, divorce, abghad al-halal. Not only as a scholar, but because of me being with so many families, trying to resolve family problems. The worst thing for the child to lose one of the parent through divorce or through whatever, and the experience itself is not healthy. We are trying to minimize this separation and encourage, because it's not easy. I know that if she's saying that I'm going to a prison, how would we encourage or minimize the torturing of a prison? By getting her to know that she's doing something for the children and it's worth it, providing that there is a progress, not endless prison. So it doesn't have to be a death sentence or endless whatever. Life sentence. It should be like a year or two or whatever. This all depends. They need to watch each other, whoever is thinking. If there is a small progress, okay, let's work on that progress. What did we do for that progress? And that's why I think they need a therapist advice.
Also, if the shoe was on the other foot, and it was the female who wasn't doing her Islamic duty, she couldn't be bothered to do the children, whatever, get them ready, would we not be more hard on the female and say, oh, she's not being a good wife, look at all these examples of women we have? Are we giving the brother an excuse to behave this way? Why aren't we being more, not aggressive, but more assertive in pushing the brother to make a change, even if he is suffering depression? But why aren't we saying to him, you are not doing your Islamic duty?
He needs to hear that, but it's very difficult. I'm inferring that it's going to be difficult for her to say that to him, and that's why it may require her to gently work with him to get him to get a third party involved, be that a sheikh or somebody, somebody very knowledgeable that may be influential.
But my point is, a lot of the time the onus is on the sisters to be patient, be patient, be patient. But if it was a sister in the reverse role, would we be saying the same thing?
Interesting question.
Well, religiously, same thing will be said, but within a different extent. How? Quran says, من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها. The wife is the source of second. Second is peace.
Yeah.
So the wife, the mother,
sakina,
is the
sakina,
source of peace, sakina, which is even better than peace. Something I don't know what's the equivalent English to it. So this is number one. By saying that, that does mean that the father is the center of noise and trouble and shout. No, that doesn't justify. But because the peace comes from the number one. Number two, before marriage, I know it sounds unfair, but before marriage, it's mainly the husband's responsibility to try to persuade the wife. Unfortunately, after marriage, the responsibility is for both of them, but sometimes might look like it's more on the wife, on specific period, not for good. Number three, when we mention religious advice and a therapist advice, we need to be very careful that someone who understands the culture of both partners.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately here when they seek a family therapist advice, they come from different background, different to the background of their partners. And when the partners doesn't understand quite well, then there is a problem. And usually when we have a marital problem or any kind of problem, I mean, I've been saying that to so many partners when they come and say that we need to have, it's like a mathematical equation or a problem. You always need to, or even when we have someone who is ill, either you treat him with remedies or with medical or with operation. Or you have to have one standard of measures, not to mix up the thing. So either both of them try to resolve the problem from the Western or the civil point of view or aspect, or Islamic. They need to agree on something. Just to simplify and to enable everyone to understand. Like here, the law states that when they got divorced, half of it to this and the other half to the other one. Islamically, it's a bit different. But Islamically, she should do that and he should do that. Usually the wives or the husbands, they want the right of the Western society and the right of the Islamic, and they can't have both.
That's so true. You want your cake and to eat it.
Cake and eat too.
Exactly.
Inshallah, it works out for them. But we're going to stop for a brief break, and we hope to see you on the other side. Assalamu alaikum.